welcome back to the Glenn Allan Show. Glenn Allan with you. That's the name of the show. And joining me right now, as previewed, Gary Leeman. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you on with me. Over the years, it's been really great getting to know you. And I guess it's safe to say we got to know each other through your generosity of giving your time to come on out and play in some charity hockey games that I put together with a mutual friend of ours in Mark Osborne. And I just appreciate yourself and Ozzy and our late friend Peter Zezel. It's great when you guys give back like that and come out for those causes. But as I got to know you, I found out that you guys are playing the one year you and I were talking at a golf tournament. The one year you played like 72 games, buddy.
Well, it sure felt like it.
in retirement. That's not retirement, bud.
That's not retirement. That's trying to never let the dream die, I guess. We're fortunate to be where we are in Southern Ontario and staying connected with not only the Toronto Maple Leaf alumni, but the NHL alumni that's based out of Toronto. That's quite involved in the community. And our mutual friend Mark Osborne is somebody that's stayed very connected at all times to the community and has done wonderful things. And one of them was to bring you and I together.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I was watching Hockey Night in Canada. Of course, after the lockout, Hockey Night in Canada was back on the air, and so many of us missed it, being the true Canadian kids and everything like that. But one of the things they did, and I had Peter Mahovlich on earlier this week, Gary. And one of the things that on Hockey Night in Canada, what they were asking, and they're asking all sorts of different celebrities and all sorts of walks of life. And of course, being a Canadian boy, I mean, all of us have different experiences with it, but yet they're different yet the same. And a lot of the people were saying, they remember being able to stay up for like one period and then they had to go to bed, because back then the Hockey Night in Canada was it started at 8 o'clock. But let me ask you, what's your first recollection of Hockey Night in Canada as a young Canadian boy growing up?
Wow. I remember the days when it came on. I think it was after the news. The game was midway through the game, and one of the stories I tell is that people ask, when did you know you were going to be an NHLer? And I can vividly remember watching a game between Toronto and Boston, and my mom said to me, she saw how into it I was. She said, and I think I was 6 years old, she said, that's what they do for a living. And I said, well, what do you mean? She says, well, you know how your father goes to work every day as a firefighter? I said, yeah. She says, well, that's what they do. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. So for some reason, that moment sticks out in my mind, and I think I was like 6 years old.
Wow. And it's so many kids that was their dream, and unfortunately, I mean, it's a fraction of 1% that ever play pro, and that's NHL, AHL, back when the IHL, East Coast League, Central, and Europe. So it's really important. Every chance I get, having been around you guys and the AHL for as many years as I have, just doing what I do, I tell kids all the time, I say, make sure you get your education, boy. And I know that you guys, when you have an opportunity to talk to young people today, that you guys do the same.
Well, it's obviously very important that you're educated. Hockey's been a fantastic tool to be able to get your education too. Mm-hmm. It's provided also different types of education, like for the guys that play in Europe, it's a wonderful experience to see the world and what an education that is in itself. So a lot of the leagues, the junior leagues, have put competitive programs together to keep the Canadian kid in Canada to play junior hockey instead of trying to seek an education in the United States. So there's a lot of ways to get educated through hockey, and we're so fortunate. And unfortunately, at a certain time, you need to make a decision on whether you're going to continue, down the path to become a pro. And if you're one of the special ones, it seems like you can do both your education and continue, your dream. But at some point, you don't have to. But you're almost better to cut the education and go for your dream if that's what you choose.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw you under the bus on this one. This question might come out of left field. I've asked David Branch this. In major junior hockey, in the CHL here in Canada, they allow for guys to get your education. But if somebody wants to go, if they want to go to the American Hockey League, or if they want to, as soon as you go pro, you're done. You can't come back and get your education later. And I've always asked him, I say, if somebody chooses to play in the CHL, if they choose to go and try and make it in the American Hockey League, if you're offering that education, like at that time, then why wouldn't you still offer them that opportunity? That if they say they try in the American Hockey League and they don't make it, and they're like 23 or 24 or even 25, why wouldn't you tell them, you know what, you came through, you're an alumni of ours, so we'll help you. That education is still here. So if you don't make it, come on back and you can still have that scholarship, or we'll still help you. And like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't want to throw you under the bus here, but that's a sticking point for me. You're offering it, yet if somebody does want to go for it, you're taking it away. They're taking it away, and to me, it doesn't sound fair.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to before. It almost seems like, if you decide that you're going to take this path to the National Hockey League, and it involves 100% focus, I think that's maybe where the disconnect begins, and obviously it becomes it would, to me, become a numbers game where it might get quite expensive for the junior leagues. There must be some type of compensation. I think there's some type of trickle down effect where if players come from certain leagues, that monies come from the top and trickle down through the, basically through the system. So
yeah,
it would make sense that it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah. Gary, you played in the Western Hockey League, and in 1982 you were drafted 24th overall. You get the news that you're going to the Toronto Maple Leafs as a young boy growing up. How happy were you?
That was a pretty neat day for me because I'm a Toronto boy, born and raised. I guess at one point I decided Notre Dame was the place for me to go, a little town south of Regina, where they provided 2 hours ice time a day, an Olympic-sized rink with world-class coaching. And to me, it made sense compared to an hour and 10 minutes of practice time that was afforded to players in Toronto. And it was such a crucial time in development for me that I was convinced to go, and so I spent a couple of winters in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, playing my midget hockey, and was noticed by the Regina Pats and put on their protected list, and decided to stay and play junior in Regina. So I ended up being drafted first year with the Regina Pats, and now it had been 3 winters away from home, where I had been 15 when I left home. So for me, it seemed like a bit of an eternity. So I had a sense that Toronto was going to draft me. I saw Johnny Bauer and Floyd Smith and Dickie Duff at quite a few of our games, and the day I got drafted was pretty special. I was actually, my jaw had been broken in the semifinals, and I was wired up at the time, and I had lost, I think I'd lost 13 pounds, and I was down to 159 pounds on draft day, and my agent said, whatever you do not come to the draft, because if they see you, you won't get drafted. So there I was at my billet's place in Regina, listening to the draft on the radio, and I remember, I think it was Kevin Gallant came on and said, the first Regina Pat has been drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I just had this feeling, my hair stood up, and I was so excited, but I couldn't yell or anything because my jaw was wired shut. So it was a pretty special day for me.
You formed the Hound line with Wendell Clark and Russ Courtnall. Talk about playing with those 2 guys.
Yeah, that was a pretty exciting time. I think for all of us, we were kind of making our way, trying to develop into National Hockey Leaguers. We were still young. We were still green. We were full of energy. We had, we had the experience of Notre Dame. We had the experience of junior hockey. But coming to Toronto, not realizing at the time, but coming to Toronto and some wild expectations at a very unstable time. The energy that I guess our line brought was exciting for us to be a part of, and the excitement that Toronto brings to, at the time, Maple Leaf Gardens was great. As it turned out, we played a little time together, and it was exciting. Both great guys and great guys to play with. It didn't last a whole long time. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of changes made in Toronto, and it just kind of reflected on the instability of the organization.
Yeah, it's funny that you're drafted as a defenseman. So is Wendell.
Yeah,
and you converted. Yeah, I found that to be something that was rather odd.
Yeah, I think probably though at the time what they were, when you're drafting a hockey player, whether it's a hockey player, you don't just look at them as a hockey player. You got to look at them as being an athlete, and to be able to play one position. I think everybody should be able to understand and play other positions. I realize there are some guys that are built a certain way to play a certain way, and but if you have some versatility to your game, you should be able to play both positions, and it worked out well for both of us. We were both put in the position to play both positions, and at the time, I think timing was something that maybe held both of us back as being defensemen, because just before that, the Leafs had drafted a bunch of young defensemen, and I think they threw them into the fire not quite ready. The Bennings and Boymastrucks, and even to a certain extent Bob McGill, and I think they didn't want to kind of ruin the next generation of young guys, so they kind of took their time with us, and knew that we had played forward at some time in our careers, and decided to go that route with us.
Yeah, you were part of the Big Ten player. After scoring four 20-goal seasons or more, big 50-goal season in Toronto, and then part of a Big Ten player deal. Of course, the Big 10 player deal that involved Dougie Gilmour and a bunch of the guys. You went to Calgary, and then you went to Montreal, where you won a Stanley Cup. Obviously, the highlight of, I'm guessing, would be the highlight of your career.
Well, it should be the highlight of anybody's career. I mean, there were things
Going out
that
on
I
a
was very
limb.
proud of, and playing in Toronto, and that being the first Toronto-born guy to score 50 goals, and just a number of things that are kind of personal things, but the number one thing that supersedes anything has got to be winning the Stanley Cup. It's a team sport that you're playing. It's a great feeling when you can have everybody thinking the same way, doing what's right for the team, and you need the stars to align, and that happened for us that year, and it was a special time, and I can't believe it's been 20 years, and it's been 20 years since the Cup's been in Canada. So let's get that thing back here.
Well, and it leads me into you look at a lockout shortened year, and you were around when back in the 94-95. When you look at a shortened year like this, I mean, Toronto's in Pittsburgh tonight. Toronto comes out of the gate 1-1. They win in Montreal and they lose to Buffalo. I said at the top of the program, I mean, the teams like Pittsburgh and Flyers are off to an 0-3 start. I mean, they're in, believe it or not, I mean, an 0-3 start, they're in trouble. They don't look good. They're not playing very well. 0-3, and they're a few more losses, and they are. I mean, it doesn't bode well. The Rangers are 0-2, but you look at a team like Pittsburgh off to a great start. Anaheim, Chicago, these teams are playing well. When you look back on even going back to 04-05, as a player, when you look at Toronto and Montreal, these are two organizations that you have interest in, that you're alumni. What are your thoughts with these organizations? As you say, 20 years ago since Montreal won the Stanley Cup, Toronto, it's been since '67, and the turmoil in Toronto continues. Burke's gone now. More drama. Gary, what are your thoughts?
Well, that was kind of a long question, but I'll sort of answer the first part. I think the cream usually rises to the top, and of course, when you get off to when you get off to a slow start, like you alluded to the the Philadelphia Flyers, it makes it the pressure increases, and you feel like it's been half a year already, and you've only played 3 games because you haven't won one. The pressure starts to mount, and of course, in these markets, Toronto and Montreal, it's so polarized, it's ridiculous. But and being as short a season as it is, it's going to be it's going to be that much more intense. But it's just going to take a little time for some of the teams that are going to turn it around. It's early. There's and like you say, there's always stories in Toronto and Montreal and these hockey markets. I mean, I'd rather be in Toronto or Montreal right now than in Vancouver. That goalie controversy that the media are just blowing way out of proportion is it's just got to be in the back of everybody's mind all the time, and it's a distraction. And for something like that to go away, you need a special bunch of guys that can discuss it and move forward. If they really want to move forward, they're going to do well, despite anything that's going on around them. And that's what it's going to take for the teams that that are in these types of markets like Toronto and Montreal to be able to really bond as a team and be driven by it more than letting it be in the back of your mind. You have to use it as fuel sometimes, and if they can do that, there's so many moving parts though, because there's so many players that are going to be in and out of the lineups, and players really have to understand that they may have to be the one to sacrifice that night or not. So that's all I got for you on that question.
Next time I'll try and make it just a little longer.
No worries.
Here's a nice short one for you. The Edmonton Oilers. This is you've been a part of a team that with a lot of young talent. This is an extraordinary team with a lot of really good young talent. Does the short season benefit this team this year as they come into their own? Do you think, Gary?
It can. I think the spanking that they got last night might be something that they needed. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hype around the young talent that they have, and it's going to force them to find a way to win. Good athletes do that. They adapt to those types of situations. Hopefully, they're well coached. The way that it unfolded for them last night didn't look so great. The bounce back will tell me whether I think they're well coached or not. And a shortened season like this for a young team that's where there's a lot expected of them, it can go either way, obviously. So the telltale for me is how they bounce back from this immediately.
Okay, as an alumnus of as you look at the result of the lockout, and I know it's a big CBA, and not everyone has read through it, and you have to have about 3 different degrees to probably go through it. But from what you understand of it so far, and I know pension was a sticking point within it. From what you understand so far, Gary, in the way that it may affect guys who have like yourself, what do you know so far? The results of the new CBA and how it affects the retirees?
Well, it's not going to affect us until we turn 65, is my understanding. Not sure whether it's in the CBA or not, but there's anybody that's retired to this point, they've been involved in their pension. Previous. It has nothing to do with today's. Anything to do with the pension today has to do with the player that's playing today. Okay. So for us, it's all dead and gone as far as we're concerned. I know that there's I think it's called supplemental gifting or special gifting, mm-hmm. that they've between the PA and the owners have decided. They're going to fund a pool that will take care of the guys that are 65 and up. So that's basically all I know about what's happening with the pension today with the recent CBA and what's happened recently in the past.
Okay. As we go through this deep freeze, and I asked you this while we were off the air, because you are an avid golfer and a very good golfer. You're getting ready to venture away from this cold weather down south and swing the sticks?
I'm hoping, to go down and see my dad shortly. He's down in Florida, and hoping to thaw out a little bit and swing the golf club. That'd be nice.
Well, my friend, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and to spend it with me this morning. And all the best going and chasing that little white ball around.
Always a pleasure, Glenn. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully you can get down and hit the ball yourself.
Yeah, we'll go through the woods when it warms up, and I'll go looking for my ball.
All right, bud.
Okay, take care.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.